And that's the way with people that are trying to destroy the church. They're only thinking of themselves. They're not thinking of God's temple and God's building. And they think if they can destroy me and say something against me, that people will turn against the church. And that's the worst thing of all. Even if they could say things that are true about me, which they can't because they have no way of knowing any of these things anyway, but even if they knew everything in my past, and if it had been 10 times worse than it has been, and they would expose that to the people, and that took one of these little ones that are converted, and they says, well, if that's, I believe in Mr. Armstrong, and if he's that bad, the whole church has got to be bad, and I'm going out of it. I'm not going to... And so they don't go into God's kingdom, and they have no salvation anymore. They have destroyed one simple human soul. They are guilty of the worst murder that they could possibly be guilty of. Why are they doing it? They don't believe in God's kind of punishment to help people and to correct them. God's punishment is because He loves us and wants to help us, wants to correct us. People want to punish because of revenge. They want to see us suffer. They want to destroy. They want to hurt. And here are people trying to destroy God's church and God's college. What about the ambassador report that was coming out? If you'd give them any good report that was all in favor of the college and good news, would they report that? Not a word of it. If the only thing they can report is something that'll hurt. What about these people that have gone out of the church and want to say bad things? All right, my own son. What about Ron Dark? What about these other people? Even Wayne Cole now has joined in the brigade. They do anything they could to hurt, to destroy the church. And all that they think of, the former members, is their minds are still on the church. That's all they think of, morning, noon, and night, is the church. They think, what's wrong in the church? Oh, I tell you. My son Ted had a famous saying, that mess in Pasadena. He says, oh, Dad, whenever you get tired of that mess in Pasadena and you want to get out, he wrote me a letter. And he said, in your old age, you can have a home with me and my family. We'll take care of you. Only he meant that as an insult because he knows I can take care of him. I don't have to have that kind of help. It shows an attitude and a spirit. And that's what Paul's bringing out here. Why is it Paul says, as he said in the book of Romans, and as he says over in Thessalonians, I believe it is, that for those that are causing trouble in the church and stirring up divisions, put them out. Get rid of them. Put them out of the church. And people say, oh, that wouldn't be right. You mustn't put anyone out. Well, you've got a crate of apples here, and there's one rotten apple. You mustn't put that apple out. Leave it in. Let it rot the ones next to it. Pretty soon they'll rot the ones next to them, and the whole crate will be rotten. They're all destroyed. If the one that is rotten is already destroyed, get rid of it and save all the rest. That's what God says we must do, and I do it because God says do it. Do you not know that you are God's temple and that God's Spirit dwells in you? Is God's Spirit in this church, or is God's Spirit in these churches that are so angry at us that all they can think about is what's wrong in this church? If anyone destroys God's temple, God will destroy him. For God's temple is holy, and that temple you are. He doesn't mean not each one is. He means you collectively, the church. Now, let no one deceive himself. If anyone among you thinks that he is wise in this age of the world, let him become a fool, that he may become wise. In other words, let him become what the world thinks is a fool, because the world thinks we're foolish if we believe in God. For the wisdom of this world is folly or foolishness with God. For it is written, He catches the wise in their craftiness. And again, the Lord knows the thoughts of the wise are futile or their foolishness, their wonderful thoughts. As the great scientists and the great philosophers of this world. So, let no one boast of men, for all things are yours, and whether Paul or Apollos or Cephas or the world or life or death or the present or the future, all are yours, and you are Christ, and Christ is God. Now that, I think, is one of the most important chapters in all the Bible.